Welcome back, guys, to podcast 6. We're here again on this episode. We're going to dive in on how we pretty much felt about this year and how CMST 102 went for us. So we're going to start off here with Lauren. For the first question is, what did you learn about mass media from your weekly assignments?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is just that media comes in so many different forms, and there's a lot more substance in each of those forms than I previously thought. We discussed ethical problems for workers in the gaming industry, the impact of television stereotypes on society, the messages music videos send, and so much more. I learned that there is always more than meets the eye, and there's always a deeper dive into any topic, even the things that we merely brush the surface of with the access that we have at our fingertips. Jacob, what do you think?
I learned that pretty much all media is very biased, and the use of stereotypes in a lot of media is what really brings stereotypes to light in our society. Like, a lot of these are shown in media, and this doesn't mean that they're actually real. There might be one or two people that did stuff like that, but it doesn't mean the stereotypes apply to every person of that group. But because the creator of that media thinks that way, they put that in there, and so they make other people think it's real when really it's not. It really isn't. And I always kind of knew that about media, but just studying this class, it's really shown me that media is really like the headpiece of all of this. What do you have to say, Brad?
Oh, yeah, I kind of have to agree with both of you guys. I mean, what I learned from mass media and the assignments were how media is just so corrupt and I would say fake in a sense. I mean, the news is fake, social media is fake, and they all just try to put on a persona of like a perfect life. And I also learned how media is in a lot more like realms than I would have thought, and just how Lauren mentioned how like it goes so much more into detail. Just how we're digesting the Back to the Future movie, and how we found out like the stereotypes and like that scene where the girl got raped and all this other stuff that I honestly probably would never have even thought about or even known without this class. And just how it has us go and dive deep into like the details and the media sense of it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say to that question. So the second question would be, what was the hardest piece of media to create and why? I think we all have a good story for this. So Lauren, go ahead.
I think the hardest piece of media for us to create was that gaming live stream.
Yeah.
Not only was it our first assignment, so we didn't really know what we were doing yet, but it took a lot of coordination, a lot of troubleshooting, and a lot of editing to make a presentation that we felt was acceptable. And I still think we could have done a better job of it. I think if we went back today and redid it, we would have done a whole lot better. It was really difficult to focus on the topic that we talked about while also trying to make a gameplay. I will never understand how gamers do it on YouTube. And it was a challenge when we got to presenting our research because it was really hard to stay sort of smooth and on task with it.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't our best assignment overall, I think it taught us a lot about teamwork, and we were more prepared for our future work.
Yeah, the gaming one was a pretty difficult one to make. We couldn't figure out how to work the stream. We couldn't all find a game that we could all get because we didn't have that much time to download stuff. I think if we had just worked on it a little bit more earlier and tried to communicate a little more faster, we could have gotten something better together, but it was still just, we had all like heard of Twitch and YouTube streaming and all this, but we really had no idea how to do it.
Yeah.
And once we had finally gotten one of the Twitch streams up, we didn't know how to let other people join in on it. And we are like, are we just going to have one person stream and then put the sound over it? We were all confused, but yeah, it was still a fun assignment to make, but in the end, bad Wi-Fi got to my computer and the game didn't even load.
As you guys both said, I mean, that was probably, I mean, well, for one, it was how Lauren said, our first assignment. We were both all nervous. I mean, I was nervous, at least I don't know about you guys. I was like, oh, dang, first assignment. But at the same time, since it was a gaming assignment, I was kind of excited for it. But, you know, the gaming live stream was definitely the most challenging. I mean, for one, as I said, first one. Two, it was hard to find a streaming platform that we were all like knew or at least had an idea of how to use. I mean, we went through Twitch, we went through Zoom, we went through, what was the other thing? Like, I don't know, we tried a whole bunch of others. It just, you know, we couldn't find one to like work for us in a way. But like I said, how Lauren said as well too, I mean, we got it to work. It wasn't our best assignment, but I also do believe if we were to go back right then and there, or right now, and work on it I think it would work just as fine. So, I mean, I think it would be better than what we already did. But
Yeah.
like it brought us together, you know, like it was funny. It was last minute. I think we worked on it that morning as well, and I was like in school too, and it was just kind of
Yeah.
like a mess. I was in my car, my school parking lot, in the car recording it as we were doing it with my hotspot, and it was just like it was a funny time. But hey, we got it done, and we got our points, and that's really all that matters. So what assignment would you guys switch to medium on, and why? Jake, what do you have for that?
Well, for the most recent project, the advertising one, when there were the four different parts, even though we're still only three people, we could split it up and we could choose either a video or like a presentation poster or recording. It was really nice because we could all work on our own separate parts, but each kind of like give each other ideas, but one person kind of like execute the end of it.
Yeah.
It was really nice because we're all sort of busy at different times of the week, and Thursday and Friday is really the only day we could all meet together. And that kind of has to go back to the film project, because that one was a really difficult one for us to make, because that had a lot of analyzing. We all kind of had to rewatch or get a short recap of the movie because it had been a while since we had all seen it. But I think if some of the other projects, yeah, if we had made like a shorter video for and maybe added one or two posters or recordings or smaller videos, it would have kind of split up a little bit and made it a little bit easier.
I agree with that. Like, I guess kind of add on to that, that I think it could have been better if we'd added a little bit more visual aid, like you said, and there was just, I think more planning involved in the things that we did,
Yeah.
just to make things go smoother, kind of like I said about the gaming thing. But I think the advertisement project was definitely our best one because it was a lot easier to evenly spread out work, and we were able
Yeah,
to each do
distribute.
that we are strong in. That it wasn't like trying to figure out what works.
Yeah, I mean the ad assignment was definitely the easiest. I mean, I feel like it's because it let us do what we wanted yet get the
Yeah,
assignment done at the same time. Like this right here, we have to meet at the same time, make sure we're all free at the same time, find that time, and do it. But the ad assignment just kind of let us be free and kind of do what we want, but yet still get it done by the due date, which is I feel like other assignments should have that, such as I don't know, like just other assignments should have the option to either, hey, participate in the video that we're gonna make, or make a poster, and that's the way you participate, or
yeah,
just
kind
something
of
like
split it
that.
up between more people.
Yeah, exactly. Just so it's not always Zoom meeting or this
Mhm.
time, this day, and yeah. But then again, that's probably part of this. That's like this whole class in a way. So, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
On to the critical process. So, Lauren, you want to take over about this, about like the critical process?
Yeah, so the critical process is this sort of 5-stage process that kind of helps you to deepen your understanding about a topic in mass media and sort of develop your own recognition and opinion about it. So the topic that I kind of chose to talk about was social media addiction, because that's a kind of a big, ever-growing problem in the modern world. And well, our first step being description, and this is what it's kind of about, is that psychologists project that an estimated 5 to 10% of Americans deal with social media addiction. And that doesn't sound like a high percentage, but if you consider how many people in America, that is a lot of people. And the criteria for such an addiction include a compulsive need to log in, feeling overly concerned over your social media presence, and devoting enough time to it that it overtakes other factors of your life. Much like with substance addiction, social media addiction can cause withdrawal symptoms, mood changes, and interpersonal conflict. Onto the analysis step, one common pattern that I've noticed coming across all social media platforms is the use of filters and cherry picking details about your life to make a post to make you seem more desirable and interesting than maybe your life truly is. Not to rain on anybody's parade, but nobody's that perfect, you know?
Yeah.
And it's rare to find someone who's completely innocent on social media. I mean, I'm even guilty of that. I don't post very often, and when I do, it's only about the positives. But seeing these kind of things coming from other people causes a lot of dissatisfaction in one's own life, and it's been proven to increase social anxiety, depression, stress, and many other disorders. And social media addiction can also cause suicidal tendencies because of cyberbullying and because of those other symptoms.
Yeah.
Jacob, would you like to take over the interpretation step?
Yeah, sure. Another way of looking at this issue is by trying to kind of find the root of the problem. And when I think back to, I was just kind of thinking back on how humans are really social animals. You know, we really need to communicate and talk with others just for our own mental health, and just as something to do. We need to talk to people and discuss stuff between each other. And I think in social settings, a lot of people try to be the very best person they can be. And while this is kind of a good thing because you don't want to be a jerk around other people, it kind of brings out the worst in people too, because people start comparing themselves to others because they only see them as this perfect image that they're just projecting for an event or something. They don't see everything else in their lives. And I think social media has really exemplified this issue by giving examples and like little almost squares of information events. And so we see these people as completely perfect online and all these things they're doing, and they don't post about the stuff that's wrong in their lives. And I mean, who would want to? It's not something other people would want to see, except for maybe like your close friends and stuff. And with people not talking about their challenges and problems more openly, it kind of leads into that addiction because people want distraction from it. And so they doubt their own image, and then they become addicted to seeing media that just distracts them and takes their mind off of that issue and others. And social media has kind of turned to this whole advertising campaign where creators of like the apps putting ads in there and creators of like content, they know exactly what their audience wants to see. And they want to make a profit from that, whether it's just getting likes or whether it's making money, they always want to make a profit from it. Now to the evaluation part. I mean, we've used this term a million times in every project, but media as a whole is really a double-edged sword. It always has the potential to do so much good, but people can always find a way to use it for bad and hurtful purposes that discourage others. For social media, there's some really, really good positives to social media. Like, it connects families that have moved apart. Like, a lot of my mom, on my mom's side of the family, she lives all the way down in California. No, we don't get to talk to them that much during the year. With social media, we can call them almost every day if we really wanted to. I've found social media to be really helpful and valuable as part of my life as I've kind of gotten older, because with Running Start online, I don't see a lot of my friends. I'm only at school for a little bit, so social media is really the only way I still talk to them. And even with like my parents, a lot of their old friends from college and stuff, they'd never really known that much, but they've met up back with them on Facebook and talked to them again. And then it also helps you connect with new people and friends that you'd never think you'd meet. But a lot of the bad parts come from other people exploiting this idea of online friendship, where like there's a lot of people that scam old people out of stuff. Again, the social media addiction's a bad part. I think the biggest part, though, is a lot of bullying and harassment on social media, because it really is very anonymous. And when people see a world that they can just do whatever they want without any consequences, even if they're good people, like someone who would be completely normal, nice people, wouldn't bully anyone in school, when they see online that nothing they do has any consequences, they just kind of become a bump on a log and do whatever they want. They'll just make fun of people and be mean, and a lot of times it goes unpunished. Back to you, Brandon, for the engagement part.
Yeah, so I think social media addiction is the engagement to the people itself. I mean, most people can't go a couple minutes without checking their phone, and those who are addicted to social media starts to affect like their own life, such as like being late to important meetings, schools. I mean, you name it, anything you have, and if you check your phone because you need to check, and you think your phone is more important than being on time, you're addicted. I mean, affecting academically, whether that's ruining your grades or even distracting you from the lesson or overall class. I mean, I think addiction, as Lauren said, addiction is addiction no matter what. Social media is no different than a drug addiction or otherwise. I mean, when it starts affecting your life and you can't control it, it becomes an addiction. So I feel that, like, as I said, if you can't control it and it's affecting your life in a negative way more than positive, then you're addicted. and if you can't, especially if you can't stop it. So finally, to the last question, make some predictions about the future of mass media. What new technologies do you see emerging? What methods of communicating will you do in the future? And how will social media change 10 years from now? Lauren, we could begin with you.
I think that in 10 years, we can kind of expect social media to become more unified into one or two main platforms rather than six or seven sort of differing ones. Because as we've seen recently with the bridge between Facebook and Instagram, which are practically the same app now, I think that it's only a matter of time before the Facebook empire expands and takes over aspects of all other social media as well. And I also believe that robotics and AI are going to become a greater part of everyday technology rather than a novel thing. Like way back when telephones or computers were first invented, they were special items. They were only available to certain clientele, but nowadays they're an everyday household object. And if you don't have one, you must be crazy. So just because of that sort of historical role that we've seen with a lot of modern day technology, I think that high level robots can follow a similar path in the future.
Yeah, I didn't.
Jacob, what do you think about that?
So I was going to kind of relate this a little bit back to the last question about social media addiction. I can honestly, sadly, only see this getting worse in the next 10 years because the way the world kind of works now, it doesn't give the right attention to a lot of obsessions and addictions that people have. It encourages them and kind of exemplifies them when it should really be trying to help people with them. But so we can sadly see a lot of technological addictions, like some people with gaming or social media get worse, but there's still benefits to a lot of the technology that will come with this. I think as a lot of other parts of the world become more developed and technology plays a larger part in those parts, that media will really become very essential for them. This was kind of, I had a political science class, and one of the biggest parts of making a country more free and democratic is really freedom of the media. And even if that media is still controlled by a main government, it's still somehow people always find a way to help each other through it and spread information to make things better. Yeah, kind of what Lauren was talking about, where everything kind of gets replaced over time, kind of like how texting has mainly replaced calling. I can't really think of anything that would replace texting and calling because it just seems like technology's come so far. But I can definitely think that eventually something would replace it, but I honestly don't know what, because technology's just advanced so much.
Yeah, I see what you mean. How you can't really think of what's going to replace texting and calling. I mean, I feel like you can't really get any more advanced than texting and calling, besides like teleportation or something like that. I mean, I feel like that's probably the next step. Like if you're trying to like, instead of calling or FaceTiming someone, hey, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes with my teleportation device in my basement or something. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I see technology going a long way into our lives more than it already is. I mean, referring to the future, I mean, you already see less books, more like Kindle-like resources. I remember seeing I don't know if it was a rumor or somewhere that books are starting to like be extinct in a way, or they will be eventually. Or maybe like no more gas-powered cars, more electric cars, or also malls shutting down due to the lack of in-person shopping. I mean, I heard that as well too. A lot of malls are shutting down just because they're not getting as much business compared to online, and companies are starting to realize that like, hey, if we don't need to have this open and we can just run a website that makes more money, why are we going to have this store? I mean, methods of communicating we do in the future are things such as Jacob was saying, methods of communicating we do in the future are things that we already do, such as texting more than talking in person, meetings online. Communicating will most likely be all online. It sounds sad to say, but it's true. I mean, I don't really see anything changing from texting and calling unless there really is teleportation. But I mean, that's kind of a long shot right there. I'm not sure. I see social media.
Who knows, eventually.
Yeah. In 10 years, I see social media changing by becoming a ticket to like the world itself. And what I mean by that is like, I feel like you have to know social media and able to like become like part of the world and like the way it runs. You know what I mean? If you don't know social media at this point, you're not gonna get nowhere.
You're a caveman.
Yeah, you're literally a caveman. You're not gonna know if you don't know how to run a website, you don't know how to use a computer, you don't know how to use an iPad. iPhone, etc. Whatever you think. If you do not know how to use technology nowadays, you're a caveman, just like Jacob said. I mean, look at your little sibling. They're trained to already use a cell phone at like the age of 2, or freaking like newborns. They're already like see a cell phone and somehow they already know how to touch the screen and click on apps, or you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, that's our review on Communications 102. I think it was amazing. It was a great class. And what do you guys think? Do you guys like the class?
Yeah, it was a fun
Yeah,
class.
it was fun. I learned a lot. I have a love-hate relationship with the group project format,
Yeah,
but I think it taught me a lot about teamwork and, problem solving and critical thinking, and I think it was a valuable lesson.
Yeah,
exactly.
a lot about organizing and getting the groups to work together.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's all we have today. Thank you for listening to podcast Group 6, and we're out.
Peace.